Stand by, gang.
Ah,
Why did you reduce that?
no, I didn't click on him.
What?
I didn't click on him.
Hey guys, it's Jim here, and welcome back to Payday 2. So, I got a request to show my build for stealth, or how I build for stealth. It just so happens I had one more recording with my friend where I pretty much forced him to do car shop, a stealth is required mission on overkill difficulty with minimum detection risk. So you can see how much of a difference it made from our old disastrous build. So, to start us off, let's talk about what defines us to be stealthy or undetectable. This is the detection risk. This risk determines how quickly you get detected before someone sounds the alarm. So, you guessed it, you need to keep it as low as possible if you are trying for stealth. Now we've been talking, lowest you can go is 3, which is highly recommended, especially for stealth. This means that if someone spots you, it's not going to earn your detection, then it will take a while to finally get detected. And of course, the higher, the more likely it is for you to get detected. So how do we bring this as low as possible? Let me break my build down for you and hopefully you'll understand what I'm going for and why. Now before anyone comments, my build is not the meta build for stealth. There are multiple different builds with different weapons and whatnot, because at the end of the day, it's always down to your personal preference. Now first things first, character. Now note this, character must do not affect your detection risk in any way. So pick whichever character or mask you want.
Never gonna give you up, never gonna let you down, never gonna run around and desert you. Oh, sorry.
Now apparel, this does affect your detection risk in an unfortunate way. If you have armor, you lose concealment. Concealment affects your detection risk. The less in concealment points, the higher the detection risk. And the heavier the armor, the less concealment points it will have. So, ideally, most or pretty much any stealth builds usually go for the 2-piece suit or at most the lightweight ballistics vest. If this is your first try on stealth, I highly recommend the 2-piece suit. Plus you're going to need that speed. Deployables are handy even in stealth. For stealth users, we have body bag case, ECM jammers, and trip mines. Body bag case is one of the equipment you'll likely go for. In stealth, you don't just kill guards or civilians and then just move on. If their bodies, or for some reason just their heads, are in an open area, they can be spotted and it will trigger the alarm. So, we need to clean the body up using a body bag before someone spots it. However, you don't get to carry that many body bags. When I start, 2 and max and no skills. With skills, you can bump the starting gear to 2, body bags and 3 and max. But even so, sometimes there's not enough, so we either buy a body bag asset or carry some in yourself. ECM jammers are a favorite among vet players. They can pretty much do anything, from delaying alarms, opening certain doors, opening ATMs without a saw. So say that someone spots a broken window or a dead body, activating the device will delay the alarm, allowing you to either rush to complete the mission before it forces you into a point of no return, or take out the tattletale before he or she sounds the alarm. Certain doors include doors that require a keycard. Sometimes, one just doesn't spawn, then you'll need it to get them bugger camping in the camera room. So, you can just pop an ECM jammer on that door and get in immediately. Just beware that you may need certain skills for that, and if hacking a computer is involved, ECM jammer may interfere with it. Now, trip mines may sound weird. Don't they explode when someone crosses his sensors? Yes, they do. Or, if you deploy one, hit F on it again to change it to sensor mode. Not sure when they made this change, but deploying trip mines on stealth will instantly change it to sensor mode, so don't hit F on it again. So what it does is that whenever someone crosses a sensor, the trip mine will mark the guard or civilian instead of exploding. So in areas where you'll be returning to, it's ideal to plant a trip mine to help you mark guards passing that area. Just be very careful as it does double as a shape charge that you can plant on doors or bars. And when you do, you can't stop the timer and its explosion triggers all kinds of alarms. Weapons. What game would Payday be without weapons? Weapons will basically be your go-to. But in stealth, be very careful as it's usually these parts that will affect your concealment the most. Primary weapons. You can carry out stealth with primary weapons as the go-to weapon. Just always remember to at least throw on a suppressor, regardless of what kind of build you're going for, unless it's a bow. So weapons ranges from ARs, shotguns, akimbos, whichever is your preference you choose. Just remember to check the base concealment. And like the armor, the lower the concealment, the higher the detection risk. So unfortunately, most sniper rifles, LMGs and specials are out of the question, as they often have bad concealment. ARs are often the go-to, especially for those starting stealth for the first time. Quite a number of ARs have a decently or very high base concealment. With the right modifications, you can get low detection risk easily, especially paired with certain skills. Number one go-to for most players is often the Cavity 9mm. High base concealment with mods that can make it higher. The downside is that the ammo is limited, it's semi-auto only, and most of all, it's part of the Golden Green Casino DLC, meaning that if you don't have the DLC, you can't get the weapon. Good news is that there are other no DLC required ARs that work just as well. There are Tempest 21, Union 556, Galen Rifle, Car 4, and maybe even the MK Starter AR can work as well if you really can't decide. Just look out for the right mods, which unfortunately may need DLCs. Shotguns are an interesting choice and is sometimes the go-to for stealth builds, specifically for the ability to launch people across the room. Simply line them towards the corner of a room and bam. Just take note that a number of these weapons require either a DLC or a bunch of mods that you may not have. The best is seemingly the Raven shotgun. Unfortunately, it's part of the shotgun pack DLC, so again you can't use if you don't have the DLC. Good news is that there are non-DLC shotguns that works. Eastman 12 gauge or basically a Saiga 12 or the Akimbo Judge shotgun the size of a revolver can bump its concealment high with mods. Akimbos are another choice many usually don't consider, especially if this is your first stealth build and I'm not too surprised. Quite often these are kind of hard to use, especially if you don't have the right skills or mods in place, and if you have used them at least once, you'll know that they are better suited for going loud. Interestingly enough, quite a number of them have a very excellent base concealment right off the bat, mainly because they are either compact submachine guns or sidearms times 2. So yeah, pretty high concealment. There are certain special weapons you can use instead. One of the few choices includes the compound bow, which not many will use. Me personally, no. It has, however, a very high concealment, especially with mods that do not require any DLCs. Another option is the OVE 9000 handheld saw. Basically, if the mission or just another quick cash grab, for example ATMs or safe deposit boxes like in the bank job, you are definitely going to need that saw to get those loot or break into the deposit box faster. Just be very careful as the saw is pretty loud, so you are going to want that silent motor to make sure you are not making too much noise. And be very careful when using it, as sawing something will still generate noise. Also, I tried my best to increase its concealment, but unfortunately it's still not the best concealed weapon. Maybe carry it only when the job requires it and not as a main go-to. So for me, my primary I run the very concealed and suppressed shotgun, the Raven. Part of the gauge shotgun pack, this shotgun with the silent killer suppressor, folding sights, short barrel, and concealment boost mods, you'll get to 30 concealment. And it allows me to have the ability to launch guards across the room without relying on the Judge shotgun. If I do not have the gauge shotgun DLC to have the Raven, then I'm afraid you may have to use an AR or the bow for the primary, and shotgun secondaries, which I will cover later.
When I was a young girl,
The AR I would use in stealth is the Tempest 21. Very high base consumer right off the bat. Couple of no DLC required mods will raise it further. But since I have DLCs, I will use the car 4. As you can see. However, if it's clear that we'll be doing a stealth goal out run, then I'll carry my Akimbo Eco automatic pistol so that I only need to shove my skill points into one class of weapon instead of spreading out to 2. Next up, secondaries. Secondaries are what usually players stick to when it comes to stealth instead of the primary. We have sidearms, shotguns, SMGs and specials. Sidearms, or pistols, are often the number one pick, especially those new to stealth. They can be suppressed, fairly accurate, and have a very excellent concealment.
you good?
However,
Fine over here, just
be
checking
a
in.
bit careful as there are some different pistols with different stats that I like to classify to make things easier. For sidearms, there are 4 categories: revolvers, low damage pistols, high damage pistols, and middle ground. Revolvers, although a favourite of the adventurous gun owner in real life, is not a practical sidearm to go for unfortunately, mainly due to the fact that you cannot suppress any of the revolvers. So these sidearms are out of the window immediately. Yoik! Low damage pistols are often looked at, especially to those new to stealth, but it's not the go-to for the vets. Low damage pistols are pistols that does not hit hard. We are talking around 50 points base, but has a high ammo capacity and more importantly, the best base concealment, like the starter Shimano 88 pistol for example. So why are these things not sought for? They have the concealment, right? Well, here's the thing. The low damage is what kills this thing in the stealth runs. Especially when you're playing higher difficulty stealth missions, why damage is a factor to note is that sometimes headshots are not a one-shot due to the low damage, and that usually results in the guard turning around and shooting you with his unsuppressed weapon. So if you're doing higher difficulty stealth, I really recommend a pistol that hits a little harder. A little harder, you say? Boom! Here's the day go. It's gone bye-bye, right? Well, yes, but beware of a few other drawbacks that comes with such a beefy sidearm. High damage pistols like the Deagle can definitely blow holes into people's heads. Unfortunately, the gun's rate of fire is not practical, ammo capacity is low, so if the mission goes loud and you're not resetting, better pray that your primary can carry you to victory. And not to mention a fair bit of concealment is lost in the exchange for damage. So be a bit careful if you're running high damage pistols. So big damage can harm the build, low damage can harm the run. So what can we use? This is where the middle ground sidearms comes in. As the classification goes, these sidearms hit harder than the small ones, but not as hard as a big one. Ammo capacity is higher than the big guns, but lower than the small ones. Therefore, middle ground. Plus the concealment, although not as good as the low damage guns, it's actually not too bad. You can raise the concealment to 30 or more with the right mods.
I pressed the buttons.
Next up are shotguns. Like what's available from primaries, these shotguns have the ability to launch hops across the room. So yes, another excellent choice, especially for the vet players. Good news is that, since these are secondaries, they have a little better concealment than their primary counterparts. Again with the right mods. Best choices are either the Judge shotgun or the Locomotive 12 gauge. Both have something the other don't have, so the choice is pretty much yours from here. The Judge shotgun is easier to conceal, and many vet players running stealth would use this. Unfortunately, if things go loud, the Judge is not the most golden thing ever, owing to the fact that its ammo capacity and pickup is kinda bad.
Just a random
That's why the
man
Locomotive
walking around. I gave
12
him a
gauge is
slice
still
of
an
cheddar
option,
and sent him away.
but again, the choice here is yours. Both are acceptable secondaries. Submachine guns are an odd choice, and usually people don't go for it unless they are doing creep builds or dodge builds, or if they are using a suppressed DMR for stealth go loud setups. Some of them performs like the ARs in the primaries, but can have excellent concealment, like the Mark 10 submachine gun for example. But again, I don't really see people using this for stealth, more like for crit or dodge builds. They require a low concealment rather than full on stealth. Specials, honestly, without DLCs, only the OVE 9000 saw I would use. But I'd rather use the primary one and save those 2 skill points for something else. With DLCs, there is a pistol crossbow, and like the compound bow, it's an easily concealable all-rounder silent weapon. Just use the compound bow, you animal. So for secondary, what weapon do I run? Since I have the DLC, I'll be using the Baby Deagle from Point Break. Highest DLC with the Aseptives, Suppressor, Spike Kick, Micro Laser, Concealment Boost, and Micro Reflex Sights because sometimes the Suppressor is kinda obstructive. Big damage, high concealment. But if you don't have DLC, you can try the White Streak Pistol. Basically a decal with a little better concealment. But if you don't like rate of fire or ammo capacity, my go-to will be the Crossbow Pistol, or basically an M1911. Just don't use the starter pistol or low damage sidearms anymore. They don't do well in high difficulty. If you don't have the DLC for the Asepsis Suppressor, you can opt for the Champion Suppressor or the Standard Issue Suppressor. As long as you have a suppressor that does not hurt your concealment and damage too much, it's fine to use. And in case you're wondering, why a laser? Will it give you away? So lasers are actually pretty nifty in stealth. For one, you don't get detected if you wave a laser in the guts, so don't worry about that. For another, it certainly helps with marking the guts, because there's no hipfire crosshairs. But Jim, why run 2 types of weapons? Why not run 1 type? Here's the thing. I want both abilities to either one-tap somebody or launch them into the corner of the room. Because sometimes launching the bodies is a better course of action, sometimes it's not. You're not maintaining stuff if you accidentally launch a dead person into a room full of people or a camera. That's when the pistol comes in. Throwables don't really affect concealment in any way. You can either use a throwing knife or snub from DLCs for stealth, but you already have a gun for that, so I don't really see the point of it. Just load up for stealth, go loud situations, or if you have the perk that's like Hacker that gives you a pocket ECM device, then you can equip it. Pocket ECM device is more for loud missions actually, but players still use them for stealth because they do delay alarms. Just for a shorter period compared to a full size one. And also you can use them on doors or EDMs, so that melee weapons are kind of a nuisance. Normally you would use melee weapons if you are not carrying suppressed weapons. So unless there's an achievement involved, you pretty much just use your suppressed weapon anyway. If that's the case, try to ensure your concealment is not hurt by the melee weapon. For me, I use the ice pick from the Point Break DLC, the damage and the reach of a machete, and the concealment of a knife. Don't ask how it's possible, but it is. If you do not have any DLCs, you can just opt for Kento's Tanto. Big damage, best concealment, not the best range, but you probably won't use it anyway. Note that there is a skill that will raise all melee weapons concealment, allowing for a more preferred choice of melee weapons, or basically to help make your detection risk lower. But honestly, you can make do without it. So now, we move on to the skills. Now let me remind you that different players may have different preferences. So if you don't agree with what I have going on here, that's fine. That's okay. Maybe you can share it with it and maybe you can tell us why. Or maybe you can tell us why you prefer this over that. Now another thing to note, I call these 3 strictly stealth. So that means if one of those highs is the stealth is optional highs and then it goes loud, it means I'm resetting. Even if it means going all the way to the beginning. So that means this 3 is not built to accommodate for going loud, not built for like mayhem or death wish, death sentence builds. This is strictly stealth, so that means it doesn't matter if the mission goes loud or what, I'm resetting. Now without further ado, let's begin with controller 3. Starting with Forced Friendship, basic. This will increase my cable ties by 4 and it allows me to tie hostages faster. So that means if one of those missions like say the bank job and I need to tie down the civilians or hostages, yeah, this is when this comes in. And you are definitely going to need that extra supply of cable ties because you don't have that many body bags. Believe me when I say this. And should you ace this? No. Acing is mainly for going loud. So yeah, maybe not. And moving up, confident. Power range of intimidation is increased by 50%. So how it works is that when you had to tell the hostages to lie down, not to move so that you can cable tie them, yeah, this is when this comes in. Not only is your shot more intimidating, you can also shout at them at a longer distance, at a further distance. Especially if someone is like on the other side of a wall, yeah, this is gonna be really handy. And acing this is mainly for going loud, so don't bother. And next up is Stockholm Syndrome. Civilians are intimidated by noise, you remain intimidated 50% longer. So that means when you press F on them and then they lie down, you have a lot more time to cable tie or body bag each and every one of them before one gets up and tries to go for the alarm button. So with this, they will stay down longer. You have more time to do whatever it is you need to do. And now moving on. So this one is mainly for going loud, but when you play on high level difficulty, something to keep in mind is that the enemies are a little bit more tanky, especially the murky guys on Murky Station and the Shadow Red Eyes, because those guys have armor. So Underdog basic, this one's mainly for going loud. The thing is, yeah, you need this just to unlock the stupid tree. And of course, able to reload shotguns a little bit faster. And it's mainly due to the fact that my shotgun is a shell by shell loaded weapon. So yeah, having the ability to load a little bit faster is a really good skill to have. Feel free to ace this if you want, but it's not really necessary. And our tank, it's just mainly for going loud, but at the same time I kinda have extra points to spend, so basic, just get basic if you can. Acing is not really necessary because it's only for going loud. So mainly I got this just to unlock the tree because, you know, you can't really put points into any other skills until you unlock the very first one. So what I really want is this Transporter Ace. With basic, it allows you to throw backs 50% further, and this is actually quite a big score, because quite often you'll be in a situation where you can't really throw them backs because there's like a fence or a wall in the way. With the basic transporter, it allows you to throw it over the fence or over the wall, so you can, you know, sprint or, you know, get the cover a lot quicker rather than just lugging the damn thing over. And using this allows you to have a movement back penalty reduction. Every 10 armor points, movement back penalty is reduced by 1%. So that means if I have 100 points of armor, back movement penalty that you'll get from heavy loot items like the servers, the go back, the artifact statues, the movement penalty will be reduced by about 10%. So this is actually a bit of a score, especially if you run, where is it? Anarchies in stealth. It's not really a common choice, but if you happen to be doing this, so yeah, that's 15% reduced right there. That's a big score. And now moving on, here's where it gets interesting. Engineer tree, you might think, oh, it's a sentry guns, right? So why would I want a sentry gun? Well, actually you don't. But what you do want is this Jack of all trades aced. Basic of Jack of all trades, what you will do is that any deployables that you have, be it ECM jammers, medkits, body bag case, ammo bag, you will deploy it 100% faster, and you will interact with it 100% faster, and this will save you a lot of time, because in stealth, you need to be fast sometimes, you need to be quick. So this will actually be a big score, and the ace is another one that a lot of stealth heist users would use. What this will do is that it will give you the ability to equip a secondary deployable. So that means I can carry a body bag case and trip mines that I can use as sensors instead, or an ECM jammer. instead of just carrying only one and basically, you know, regret. So yeah, just keep in mind that whatever it is you equip as a secondary, it will only bring half. So that means if I have 2 body bag cases and then I equip it as a secondary, it will only bring 1 body bag. Or in this case, the trip mines, if I only have 4 trip mines and I equip it as a secondary, I only carry 2. But don't worry, if you're carrying like body bag cases or ammo bags, how many times you can actually use those deployables will not be affected by this. So that means you have Combine Doctor Ace. So you have 2 more charges from, I believe it was 3? 3 as standard. So yeah, so you probably have like 5 charges. So you only carry 1 doctor's bag, but that 1 doctor's bag, you can still interact with it at least 5 times. So that's my point. How many times you interact with it that isn't affected. So don't worry about that. Now Breacher, this is one that I highly recommend. There are some heists that requires you to use a trail, which is not really pleasant. So why do I recommend this is that basic, as you can see, allows you to fix your drills and saws 25% faster. But here's the thing, drills and saws are also silent. Civilians and guards must see the drill or saw in order to become alerted. So yeah, this is a bit of a score because there are some situations where you're forced to use a drill or a saw. And with this being quiet, yeah, this will definitely be a score. Now feel free to ace this if you want, but honestly I really don't trust the whole automatic restarting thing because I always find myself going back to the drill anyway. So yeah, I'm not gonna bother with this. Drill Sergeant is definitely one I will go for. Drill and saw timer reduce by 15% and acing it will decrease it even further to 30%. So, meaning that the timing that you take to drill into a bank or drill into a train car, yeah, it'll be reduced by 30%. So that's a score. Now, since I'm using trip mines more often, I decided to ace this. Now acing this is not really necessary, you can just get this basic. I just ace this because I got some points left over. So yeah, ace this and get a whole bunch of trip mines, which I believe now is 7. Yep, I can put down 7 trip mines that works as sensors. And now moving on, Oppressor. I highly recommend you ace this. Gain 8 weapon accuracy and 16 weapon stability. So if you don't want to ace this, at least try to get accuracy. Because I kind of found on the hard way several times what happens if your gun don't have a very good accuracy. Stability is not really necessary, but if you feel like you could really use some stability, yeah, feel free. And now Surefire, this is mainly for going loud. But again, like, I really don't trust some of my weapons when it comes to dealing with armored guards, like again the murky guards, because they have body armor. So yeah, I just want to make sure that their body armor doesn't ruin the run. So acing this is what I will go for. And of course, lock and load. This was mainly for going loud, but who knows, maybe you need to E5 while you're sprinting. Now here's where the magic happens. The Shinobi tree. Chameleon, aced. Basic will increase the time before you start getting detected by 25% while in casing mode. So when you go in casing mode, it will actually take a long time for you to get detected. And you can also mark enemies while in casing mode, which is how I was able to do it several times. So yeah, that's actually a score because as I mentioned, sometimes you don't want to straight away mask up. Sometimes you could just go in as in casing mode and, you know, work your magic. And acing this allows you to pick up items while in casing mode. So let's say the bank job for example. If you go into the bank in casing mode, you need a keycard, which you can find in the manager's office or the manager himself. So in casing mode, you can go straight to the manager's office, and with Chameleon Ace, you can pick up the keycard if he's there. So Sixth Sense is another one that I highly recommend you get. Well, basically this Shinobi tree is basically one I would pour a lot of my points in. Basic will give you the ability to mark enemies within a 10-meter radius around you after standing still for 3.5 seconds while in stealth. So you stand still, like say on the other side of a wall, you don't know if there's a gun or if there's civilians in the area. Standing still for 3.5 seconds, you know, 1000, 2, 1003, 1000. Shoot. Then it should start marking enemies and even civilians within the 10-meter radius. Just be careful that it doesn't mark cameras. So yeah, don't go rushing into a open area. Now acing this is important. I'll explain to you in the tips section. But trust me, you will need this. Cleaner skill, sometimes people will ignore this, and I really don't blame them. Because sometimes you don't really like to rely on body bag cases. So feel free to ignore this if you want, or at least get basic. So you can at least carry 3 body bags and have 2 instead of 1. So yeah, it's a bit of a score here. But since I like to use body bags because I'm a bit of a psychotic murderer in stealth, so yeah, I'm definitely gonna need more body bags. Now nimble, this is another one that I highly recommend that you get. Basic gives you the ability to disable the camera, basically looping the camera, not disabling it. And it lasts for 25 seconds. I will show you in the tips section as to how this actually works and what you need to look out for. And acing this gives you the ability to lockpick 100% faster, and this is a score. Especially those annoying, really irritating safe deposit boxes, like on the Go Bank job or the regular bank deposit job, like bank deposit Go, bank deposits, bank deposit cash or whatever. And this also gives you the ability to lockpick safes, and this is a score. Because sometimes lockpicking the safe, it's a lot safer to lockpick the safe than to put a drill on it, because you can't really take the drill off for some reason. So yeah, I highly recommend that you ace this as well. Now if you're running the ECM jammer, this is what you will get. So I would definitely ace this. Basic will increase your jammer by 25%, which in 20 seconds that would be 5 seconds. So 20 plus 5 seconds, that's 25 seconds. And acing this will give your ECM jammer the ability to open electronic doors. So if you can't find the keycard, or you don't want to spend your favors or your offshore money into getting a keycard, you can just use your ECM jammer. Now ECM specially, something to keep in mind is that when you basic this, you will place 2 ECM jammers instead of 1. So why do I need to put an emphasis on this is because if you're trying to make this as your secondary, just keep in mind that you're only stuck with 1 ECM jammer. And that's really unfortunate. However, if you ace this, it's definitely worth it. ECM jammer duration increased by additional 25% on top of the already 25% from here. And the ECM feedback duration lasts longer. This one's for going loud, so I don't care. And the pages will be delayed by ECM jammer. So yeah, you put down ECM jammer, pages are delayed, gives you and your buddies time to either get out or to get ready to answer the pages when it's ready. And now the Artful Dodger 3. Duck and Cover is definitely one I recommend. Not only do you sprint 25% faster, you regenerate your stamina faster. Because sometimes you really need to move fast in stealth. Be it between cover and to cover, or you need to hurry up and finish the heist before it forces you into point of no return. You don't really need to ace this is mainly for going loud. And moving up, inner pockets. Basic will increase the consumption of melee weapons by 2. So if a melee weapon is actually kinda hindering your stealth build, your detection risk, then you might want to get this. This will allow you to carry more different melee weapons, so if you don't like the idea of the melee weapon, hindering your detection risk, then feel free to basing this. Now acing this is not really necessary. This one is mainly for either someone's trying to go for a crit build, and what it does is that it just increases your consumption of all your ballistic vests by 4. And honestly I don't really see the point in doing that, because most of the time people will just wear the 2-piece suit anyway. Or at most just this one, the lightweight ballistic. Either one, the consumer is already pretty high, so I don't really see the point in having the skill anyway. And finally, of course, parkour is 10% movement speed, speed, everything needs to be fast. And increased speed while climbing ladders, and this is another score. Because again, you need to move fast. And acing this, you don't really need to ace this, but It gives me the ability to sprint in any direction, and I will take that. And run and reload as well. Next up, Silent Killer. There's really no point in having second wind, honestly. I mainly get this just... It's mainly for loud, but I mainly get this just to unlock the tree, which is kinda annoying actually. But yeah, I invest in Silent Killer for the next two skills. Professional, Basic, and Ace. 8 weapon stability and 100% snap to zoom speed. So yeah, more stability and acing gives you more accuracy. Which is why my baby Deagle now has 92 accuracy. And the next one is where it gets a little bit important. Then I highly recommend that you actually ace this. Optical Illusions. Basic is actually kind of pointless, this is mainly for going loud, but if you ace this, 1 consumer point for each silence weapon you carry, and consumer penalty of silencers is reduced by 2. So, let me show you what it means. You see, every time you put on a suppressor, you lose consumer. There is a consumer penalty that you need to keep in mind of. But with the skill ace, this is negated, meaning that I don't lose any consumer at all. And to top it off, I have 1 extra consumer point that's automatically added to my detection risk. Now you can actually try a little bit different by having a suppressor that reduces it by 3, so that it negates 2 and then the 1 point is put into reducing the third point. There's the third consumer penalty point. So yeah, you can try that if you want, but just keep in mind that maybe sometimes, you know, the consumer point could be put to better use. And finally, Gunslinger. This one is mainly for pistols, but honestly though, if you are using one of the big damage pistols like I am, with the baby Deagle or the regular Deagle or the White Streak pistol, you really don't need to put so much into here. I mainly get this for 2 reasons. Decrease time to draw and holster pistols by 33%, so that means I can switch between my pistol and my shotgun a little bit quicker. And acing this 8 weapon accuracy with 4 pistols. And again, I don't need to emphasize how much accuracy is actually important. And I got a little bit of points left, so I just, you know, throw this here. Not really necessary. Now something to keep in mind is that if you're not using the big damage pistols, I highly recommend you ace this. Give you extra 15 points on damage. Because again, sometimes they don't die to your headshot, sometimes they don't die to your body shot, or sometimes, you know, your gun doesn't have the accuracy. So yeah, you definitely want a little bit of damage. But in the end, the best thing to do is just spam it. Don't try to one-tap the person. Everything else is kind of pointless because it's mainly for going loud, except maybe this one. Many weapons do 100% more damage to non-special enemies. It's up to you whether you want this, but since I don't use melee weapons all that much, I don't really see the point in doing this. So yeah, I'm gonna ignore this. Now another thing that people don't usually go for, especially the vet players, because this is kinda cheating a little bit, there's this thing called crew management. Yeah, let me show you what it does. So you can actually customize some of your crew, be in the weapon. I can just give this guy a LMG for all I care, and you will be carrying the LMG. But here's the magic. Crew abilities and crew boost. So let me show you what it does. So with Quick, players interact 25% faster and another 25% for every AI present. So what this does is that when you press F on something, like for example fixing the drill, lockpicking, or you know, deploying items or carrying items, yeah, you will do that 25% faster. And if you're playing a solo, this means it's 100% faster. So yeah, everything is faster because of this. So that's why I say this is a little bit cheating. At least the good news is that, as far as I'm aware of, you don't answer pages faster. So, good news I guess. Now for the boost, we have Concealer. So what this does is that it gives you 3 concealment right off the bat. Perk decks are kind of on border sometimes. You equip one and all the buffs in that one per deck is at your disposal. Be it giving you extra armor or extra health or a specialized throwable. Why is it a border is that sometimes you wish you have what one perk deck has that the other or the one you're using don't. It's just that one perk for that one perk deck only. Thankfully, all the perk decks have a few perks in common, and one of them is blending in, which gives you extra consumer points, and that's a score. So which perk deck? I'm currently using Anarchist, just to make use of the Armour Transporter Ace skill. Wouldn't say no to 15% speed penalty reduction, but if you have Clover's characters DLC, you can use the Burglar perk deck, which is actually the best for full stealth, or for some, the Yakuza perk deck, because speed. If you don't own any DLCs, the Armour perk deck to make use of that Transporter Ace skill, or the Hacker perk deck for that Pocket ECM device are free to use. Now for Infamy rank, you might think, I came across a number of players with super high Infamy level, and they just breeze through the highs. So it is something to do with Infamy, right? Not exactly. Infamy, as far as I'm aware of, is really just cosmetics. You know, mask and patterns. So Infamy rank is not really affecting the stats in any way. However, even if you do not intend to go into Infamy, at least go Infamy rank 1. As you can see, skill points requirements for each tier are reduced by 10%. So instead of 20 points for, say, tier 4 in the skill tree, you only need 18. Does not seem significant, but it is something at least. So that's that for my build. Now I'm going to show a few tips and tricks that you can use in Payday 2 stealth, and hopefully they carry over to the next game. Before you start the heist, always remember to buy some available assets to make your heist easier. A keycard to open security doors,
I'll make sure it's done.
Okay, you're in. Good.
some termite paste to help open up certain
I'll make
areas,
sure it's
You're in the lair of a beast now, gang. Better loot, but bigger risk. This coke won't be funding any more terrorism.
the spy cam was spotted to help mark guards,
trust me.
an extra body bag
My
case in
associate
case you're not
assures
bringing
me
in your
it will
own
be placed.
body bag case,
There's a lot of stuff coming home. Weapons, ammo, and anything the mercury elements can liberate.
loot drop off points so you don't have to travel miles to the escape van. Even certain heists has insider info that includes where the security room will be.
One. Keep back.
A lot of assets to help you with stealth heists within the favor budget. Just make sure that you have the 6th sense skill ace to gain access to all the stealth assets. There will be mission equipments like crowbars,
There's only one place I can sell that. Marrakesh.
special keycards that always won't be available in the SS page, so you have to find them. I'm afraid I don't really have any real knowledge as to where everything is. The good news is that you can find a lot of this information on the Payday wiki. Just be careful as some of the stuff on there is outdated.
Lose that keycard.
When you start a stealth heist, especially a public one, you wonder, how do I know how many pages have already been used? How many body bags I have left? Simple. You hold tab, bottom left corner, and you can see how many pages used and how many body bags left. Always mark guards. Yes, I can't believe I had to say this. Always remember to mark guards if you can.
God.
If marking guards risks detection, then don't try.
God.
Just remember to communicate if you're playing on a public server.
God. Stay
You
alive.
cannot mark civilians unfortunately, but thankfully, 6th sense and cameras can do them for you. Not a lot of people may want to hear this, but try not to open one too many doors so quickly, especially at the start of the heist. And the reason is because the more doors you open, the more the NPCs or the guards will actually go through those doors because, it's a new path and everything. So if you have to enter a building, try not to open one too many doorways. You can grab stuff through walls. Yeah, I'm not kidding. If you have a case or a keycard next to a thin wall, you'll find that you don't have to put yourself in that area to grab it and risk getting detected. You can just lean on the wall and grab it. You're easier to get detected even with 3 concealment when you're either standing or walking, running, and or carrying bags of any kind. So I suggest keep crouched at all times and only sprint between covers. Funny enough, sometimes the civilians take a much longer time to react to your presence, long enough that 3 concealment points, you can literally brush past them fast and they won't even notice you.
God, stay
Speaking
quiet.
of concealment,
Careful.
sometimes the
God.
stealth eyes starts you off
Stay back.
in casing mode.
Place like this will keep the keys
Try
secure.
using that to your
Look for a
advantage,
storage room.
because sometimes you can't access certain areas after you mask out given how
This is
many
the
guards and
place.
civilians
Careful.
are in the area.
Damn it.
Just be aware that guards and cameras can still detect you in casing mode. Windows are often the run killer. You smash one, anybody nearby can hear it, anyone spotting
down
it from
on
a
the
distance
ground.
will sound the alarm. So be a bit careful with your aim if the room you're in has windows. If you need to break into a room through a window, knock picking is an option. In the event that you did smash a window, find some wooden planks if there are any in the map. Apparently boarding up broken window
Slow
sides.
them down.
Both civilians and guards can be taken hostage.
Caught on tape.
However, from
Down.
guards, sometimes they are not
On the
intimidated.
ground.
So the better option is to kill them.
Make the cops
Plus, when you
twice
take
about
them as
communication.
hostage, you still need to answer their pages, and you can't move them should they be in an open area. For civilians, you can move them anywhere you like, but beware that they can still be found should someone happen to come across them. So sometimes killing them is the better option. Hence the reduced criminal cost in 6 cents HQ. But be careful about this option, especially in public heist or crime spree,
Follow me.
because there is a heist mutator that sounds the alarm after a set number of civilians are killed. Cameras are annoying, that we can all agree, so we can destroy them with extreme prejudice, right? As much as it pains me to say no, that's a bad idea. Even though it's convenient that the camera does not work anymore to detect you, it still could become a run killer. Because if a guard notices the camera is destroyed, he will sound the alarm. Worse still if you got hit by the small chance of a guard going straight to the destroyed camera to inspect it directly. So the best option is to find the bugger hiding in the secretary room
Don't
and
block your
eliminate
way
him.
back.
But keep in mind that there are some maps that
No problem.
either has 2 security rooms like the White House, heist, or it's an offsite monitoring, meaning there's no security room. So this is when Limbo Basic comes in.
God.
It gives you the ability to temporarily disable a camera so you can pass it undetected without destroying it. Just be careful as you can only disable one camera and one camera only. So if you're playing public servers, remember to alert your buddies before doing that, so they don't attempt to disable the camera the same way, realizing they cannot do that yet.
Watch out. Camera. Watch out. Camera.
So that's all I have to say about stealth. And again, if there's some things you don't agree with me, that's fine. Because like I said, my setup is not a meta build, just my preference. And with that, I wish you the best and leave you to the game building now.
Perfect
Yes.
execution.
Okay, let's do this.
Time to cement my place in this crew. God, stay alert.
So
Look
tempted
out,
to murder
God.
this stupid black guard.
God, watch it. God, stay quiet.
There's another guard.
God, stay back.
Stay low and quiet. Got a guard over here.
God, stay quiet.
Ready and
God,
Wait. Can you make up your mind or not?
The
Yeah,
end.
go.
Watch out! God!
Honestly, I think this place is haunted or something.
Yeah, we're scaring the cost first. We go up. Just find some corner to put it down first. Later we'll use the dumpster in the building.
God! Stay quiet.
Oh, good. Sorry, she's up here. Yep, you know what to do next, huh? Yep.
Fancy
Yeah,
place
don't
like this will keep the keys
don't
secure.
open any doors just
Look
yet.
for a storage room.
I go get the. I go put his body in the dumpster. Why is this door open already?
That door is actually open.
Yeah. Yeah, he's not in there.
Still.
This is it.
Damn, it's locked. Alright, the manager's still there. Take him as hostage. See if he has any information about the lock.
Go outside. Yeah, remember stay crouched, huh? Civilian coming. Civilian. Hey, what are we worried about, huh?
They're gonna come down harder on us if you kill civilians.
Should we take the risk and go down and see the manager's office?
Actually, we haven't checked the staff room, right? The other office. Actually, let me do it.
The pantry.
Oh, found him.
He's got a key card. It's not for the storage room, so likely for his office. See what's in there.
Found him.
There's a guard coming. Manager's office beside the pantry just now where we at.
Yep. It will always be next to the pantry.
They got a new IT guy on the books.
Okay,
If we can find his name and hack his
Mark
PC,
Beatty.
we should be able to open that door for you.
Mark Beatty. We're looking for Mark Beatty. Bob Rogers, Mary Brown.
His computer was
Then
below.
he's downstairs here. What are you doing?
Buddy, everything.
Yeah, I got it. Mark Beatty.
A minute.
Okay,
Let's go to the
give me a
front.
minute or so.
Yeah, let's go back outside.
Watch out! God! Watch out! God! Don't bloody alert the guard!
Okay, I'm in the storage room already.
God!
That was very risky.
Careful.
doing?
God.
No, I need to go outside to get the C4. Really, guard? What are you guarding, the pavement? What's the point of you standing there?
Okay, I'll set these
inside?
off remotely. Now get back to the storage room. It's open. Great. Now get into the Falcone. I've cleared the road. Heads down. All of you need to be inside the dealership so I can blow up the C4.
No, just grab my car and go.
Burn some rubber.
Look out for me.
Hurry, hurry. Get down.
See that nice big hole? Drive through it and hit the gas.
Initial D.
Please don't. It's already midnight. I want to call it a night already.
Yes. I need work tomorrow, so
Just leave the car in the container and mosey on out. We're nearly done.
Oh my goodness, what are you doing? Wrong containers.
Time to bounce, gang.
Hoxton! Come with me! Hey! Hoxton!
Oof. There we go.
Great job. These beauties will be tearing up the streets of Eastern Europe in no time.